Hey marketers, thanks for joining Marketing Mob Talks. We're glad to have you here today. My name is Annelle Barnett and I'll be your host. I am also the founder of Marketing Mob. We connect marketing leaders with qualified, talented, hand-selected marketers. We also connect the marketing community with content, careers, and collaboration. And it is in this spirit that we created Marketing Mob Talks. Here are a few housekeeping items today. Marketing Mob Talks takes place on the second Tuesday of every month at 2 Eastern Time. Our next talks will be December 12th. We have a great lineup for you that you'll hear more about later in the presentation, so please mark your calendars. We record all sessions, so if you're unable to attend 1 month, simply register and we'll send you the recording. In order to respect everyone's time and to keep each presentation down to 15 minutes, we're not going to open it up for Q&A today. However, each of the presenters have included their contact information at the end of their presentation, so you can reach out to them directly, or you can email me at abarnett@marketing-mob.com. So now on to the presentations. Our first presenter is Ann Marsden. She's the founder of Marsden Marketing. Marsden Marketing is an inbound B2B marketing agency that helps their clients accelerate growth using the technologies, digital tools, and channels that have unleashed the connected world. Her talk today is on Agile, a mindset and methodology for data-driven marketers. At this point, I'll turn the controls over to Ann and we'll get started. I hope you enjoyed today's session of Marketing Mob Talks.
Annelle, thank you. And hi, everybody. It's really great for us to spend 15 minutes or so together talking about Agile. And I guess I'd start by asking, why are we even talking about Agile for marketing? And I think the answer is simply because we're all scrambling to figure out how to manage the really profound changes that are happening around us. We all know change is inevitable, but what's really new for us now is dealing with the accelerating pace of change. And it's not just in our technologies, it's in the behaviors and expectations of our buyers, be they consumer or enterprise buyers. So we're looking to identify opportunities and to adjust to market shifts more quickly. The way we did things before just isn't working as well. It takes too long. So you think about Agile, it's a software development concept. Originally came out of that world. It was born from realizing that in the software development field, they could spend months and months to create a product that, when delivered, doesn't meet the end user's needs. And either that's because we didn't accurately predict what the end users wanted, or while we were in the development process, their needs changed. So while waterfall was the traditional process, it valued spending time up front to carefully define and document end deliverables. When you think about it, that made sense because it was a way to help developers stay focused and to prevent random requests popping up and diverting their scarce resources. One of its key tenets was to measure success against the definition of the business requirements as it started. But business requirements don't necessarily work in the real world. What we thought would work great sometimes just doesn't. So the Agile method was developed, and it's based around smaller incremental deliverables that can be tested in the real world rather than waiting for one big deliverable that potentially misses the mark. This approach is built to better manage the speed in which we live in today. Here's another way of looking at it. Because Agile is focused on delivering to user needs instead on delivering to a plan, what it's doing is selecting smaller discrete deliverables that can be tested and measured. And with it, you're able to gain flexibility by learning faster and making decisions that are driven by data and based on proof. Allows you to set priorities and plans as you learn over time. And as you can see, while this entire process often takes longer, there are two key benefits. First, we're delivering user value all along the way because each of those short intervals delivers a discrete user benefit. Second, each change and iteration takes us further to delivering greater value overall. That's because over time, the results are more on target. Then we're more able to adjust to market shifts and in changes in user needs as they happen throughout that cycle. So just as Agile has helped software to come to market more quickly and more on target, we're using a similar approach to help marketing shorten our time to value across a number of marketing disciplines. The example we're going to use is one that we use at Marsden Marketing today, and that's in the area of content marketing. So if you look at traditional content marketing, and if I think about how we've done it in the past, to create and execute a content program could easily take a couple of months before we'd even begin to see results. But today, think about it, most of our content is distributed and consumed online, which means that we should be super quick to create, test, and adjust that content to meet our users. So with Agile, we are building the plane while we're flying. And while that might be an old phrase, what's new with Agile are three specific things. First is our use of data to prioritize our objectives. We have more access to data, and sometimes we complain about how much data we do have these days. But when we pick the right data, we're able to quickly see what, when, where, and how our target buyers are responding to our content programs. And while we still define a big overall objective with multiple touch points, we start evaluating if our messaging and our channels and our offers are hitting the mark, and we're able to see that within weeks, not months. And based on what we learn, we're able to adjust each of those elements accordingly. The second thing is we're crossing organizational lines more consistently and more regularly. Agile calls on joint teams across multiple marketing disciplines to achieve the goal that's defined. By defining a customer-centric content goal, the Agile approach to content means that we're bringing together participation from everyone to create and execute on the content. That means not just the writer, it brings in the SEO and the PPC, the website manager, the media and content syndication group, whoever's managing social media, and those guys running the email programs. It's a cross-functional approach to creating small, discrete deliverables that are defined and measured by customer-centric results. And that's what's different. The third thing that's different is the visibility that's required. As a data-driven methodology, if you can't measure it, or if you can't change your actions based on what you're measuring, then you're doing it wrong. And in a cross-organizational approach, if you don't provide visibility to the entire team, you can't, as a team, achieve the objective. So I would also comment that it seems somewhat strange, but one of the things about Agile, and it applies in our content marketing environment, is that sometimes it can feel like it takes longer. Because we were used to having a build-up to a big release, which has a different sort of anticipation that goes along with it. But now, by making smaller bets and continually adjusting, we are getting better overall results over a longer period of time, and we're staying closer to what our buyers want, but it feels iterative, so you don't get those big bangs, but the end result is in fact better. So what does Agile look like in practice? There are a few different methods, and the two you've probably heard about are Kanban and sprints. Kanban is a team visualization tool that helps everyone stay on track. This particular slide is actually looking at and talking about sprints. And in the sprint methodology, you're defining typically a 1 to 2 week work timeline for a cross-functional team. The team takes an overall objective, and together they're responsible for prioritizing the work that can be achieved within a 1 to 2 week time frame by defining something that is discrete, is applicable in the real world, and is measurable once delivered. The team then meets every day to discuss the work that was done the day before and the work to be done that day, and any challenges or roadblocks they're running into. Now, this is a quick check-in kind of meeting. It's not some long, drawn-out thing. It's an opportunity for the core members to get together, quickly identify what they need to be doing, talk about where their challenges are, and move into their day. As you can see from this example, it's actually a stand-up meeting, which is often what's done to help keep these energy kind of high and moving forward and get you on into your day. You'll also see here there's a Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is assigned to the team to keep them on track. It helps them to break down and overcome obstacles. Oftentimes, Scrum Masters aren't really part of a specific work activity, but act as the project manager. Then at the end of each sprint, the results are released, they're tested, and they're measured. And then the group comes together and based on the learnings, they agree the next iterative sprint to reach the objective. That's taking a look at kind of the methodology behind it. But what's really important in marketing is that Agile in marketing is more considered to be about the mindset than even about the process itself. One group, CMG Partners, did a report on Agile, and they defined Agile marketing as being 1 part process, 2 parts mindset. And they defined 7 principles of an Agile mindset. The first principle is to be customer-centric. Most marketers believe they're focused on the customer. That's normal. But what's different here with being customer-centric is going a step farther and shifting the starting point of the approach. It's not just about creating business value. It's about creating business value through building customer value. And the first part of that shift means that you've really got to understand your ideal customer. It means that you've got to understand how they buy, the role they play. CEB Gartner says that in B2B decision-making these days, there's over 5 different people with different roles who are likely involved in the purchase decision. So it's our responsibility as marketers to understand and address their specific roles, their concerns, and also to understand where and how they prefer to interact with the brand. The next thing about this principle or approach in the mindset is to be data-driven. Using data to quickly adjust, or if it's going right, to amplify the actions that you're already taking is a cornerstone of Agile. It's no more relying on what we did in the past or on our gut. Now, that's not to say that our gut's not a good thing. We all know that that's an important guidepost for us, but now it's not flying solo. We're using real data to help us make considered decisions. The third is being flexible and focused, which means that while we have an overall objective, our feet aren't set in concrete about how we're going to get there. And even though change is frustrating, particularly when we're in the middle of trying to get something out the door, using data can help us make considered decisions, and it also helps the change that we make not feel so arbitrary to the people who are participating in the process. Number 4 is to be collaborative. And what that means is getting people out of their respective swim lanes and get them to look at their work as part of a larger customer-centric objective, and to do so on a daily basis. And that way, as they're looking at it, they're able to evaluate and solve problems together. Principle number 5 is to be iterative and experimental. By choosing smaller measurable deliverables, we're really encouraged to take incremental risks and to try things more quickly and to learn from them. But with being collaborative and experimental comes the need for everyone to collectively see what's working. And hence principle number 6 is the transparency. I can tell you that transparency can certainly be uncomfortable for some. Not everybody likes their trip-ups to be on display. And we learn as much from our failures as we do from our success. So how using transparency and how getting the organization to look at our learnings is handled across the company will make a big difference as to whether Agile as a methodology is going to end up being successful in your organization. And the last principle is empowerment. Giving agile teams the power to collectively select and chart their work really creates a cross-functional buy-in to the goal, and it fosters that sense of ownership and urgency that we need to act and react swiftly. So we've got the set of principles, but now we have to make them happen. And to do so, we need to think about the steps that are involved. There's really 5 steps, and it starts with leadership. And it starts with leadership creating a culture and communicating a purpose that everyone, regardless of role, can rally around. From that shared purpose, you need to get everyone working to the same objectives, which means translating the purpose into specific objectives for each one in the organization, or for at least that team that is working on that objective. Group-wide adoption starts with leading by example. So in step 3, it requires that leadership on down actively promote a mindset of experimentation, really encourage risk-taking, being open to sharing the data, which means looking at collectively both the good and the bad of what's learned. And by having that happen from the top down, the team will be rewarded for adopting similar methodologies. But not everyone's used to or comfortable with this approach. So it's key to spotlight those who really exemplify Agile. So step 4 is to make sure that you're measuring and rewarding group-wide those behaviors that reinforce being Agile. And it also means that you're bringing the right people into the boat. I'm sure we all know not everybody is collaborative by nature. Not everybody wants to spend time talking to others about the work that they're doing. But by making sure that you're reinforcing the right behaviors and that you're hiring the right people into the organization, you have a better ability to make this approach work successfully. And I'll also say as a cautionary note, if you've tried it and it's not working for your team, it is possible that it's not the right marketing activity to use this for. But before you abandon it, I'd really encourage you to look at the people dynamics, because lack of organizational buy-in and support is often the reason that Agile doesn't succeed in an organization. I'll also tell you that Marsden doesn't use Agile for all the work that we do in marketing for our clients and for ourselves. We found, for instance, general project management, or those things that are more process-oriented, it doesn't apply as well to. But there are instances, just like the content marketing example, where we've seen real acceleration in the success of our programs by applying it. And I can tell you that we're not alone. The proof is out there that Agile really does work. In that same CMO study that I mentioned before, and the CMOs said 93% of them that Agile helped them improve speed to market, be that in introduction of new ideas, getting new products out, or running campaigns. 87% of that group said that their Agile teams were more productive than non-Agile teams. And a fully 80% of those CMOs said Agile helped them deliver better, more relevant end products. So there's proof in the pudding. There's measurable results of doing it. It sounds like a pretty simple, straightforward set of principles and steps, but we all know that that's easier said than done. But I encourage you to look at the areas that you can apply it. And if you want more information, we have a more extensive presentation on SlideShare, and you can find it on the Marsden Marketing Company LinkedIn page. So thank you so much for today. I hope you found some of these useful ideas for your marketing team.
Thanks, Anne. There's a reason that software development teams around the world are using Agile methodology. So as marketers, you can take advantage of the efficiency and flexibility in your own marketing operations. Again, if you have any questions for Anne, you can contact her at the email address listed on the screen. Actually, sorry, I went past it. Okay, there it is. Or you can email me at abarnett@marketing-mob.com. So our next presenter is Amy Walker-Bars. She's the Director of Brand Strategy at Teradata. She's a global B2B marketer who is a passionate champion of the customer and the brand. She's a strong mentor and cross-functional advocate who helps employees and the company see and be their best. Her talk today is on the journey to marketing excellence. So I'm going to turn the controls over to Anne and let her take it from here.
Hey, thanks, Anel. It's Amy Walker-Bars. I'm so glad to have a chance to talk with you about one of my favorite subjects today. Marketing excellence can be viewed by a lot of different people as representing a lot of different things, but I wanted to take a minute to talk about what it means to me in terms of marketing, building an excellent marketing team. Okay, first it starts with being able to advance your slides. So I'm making sure I'm not doing that right, apparently. Okay, here we go. So my title is Director of Brand Strategy. So I wanted to take a minute and say what the people might say, what in the world is she working on, this marketing capability or part of this marketing, new world of marketing. And this is a wonderful quote from the Harvard Business Review that really, in my mind, crystallizes that. And that is, this has everything to do with your brand strategy. And that is what capabilities of your drive marketing excellence, what structures and ways of working will support them. So I think this is the kind of broader look at our marketing teams that allow us to deliver on all kinds of marketing, including the brand and the brand excellence. And the important thing to remember is it is a journey. It is something you must start with just a few steps, but it can lead you to a very riveting and results-producing end state. And it's a chance to really take a minute, make sure that everything you're working on from a marketing perspective ties into the overall business strategy, something I know we try to do on a fairly frequent basis as marketers, but this is a good chance to just make sure that that's everything that you're working on. It's also a chance to tie into any big org changes, even things that might not seem like good news. For example, if you're having a reduction in force or a reorg, this is a chance to tie into that and start to use that as a chance to talk about refocusing on the customer, investing in the marketing team, and building on the bottom line. And most importantly, everything we do in our journey to marketing excellence should be founded on metrics. That's one of the things that helps improve the view of marketing across the organization and helps us as marketers become very much data-driven in all of our approaches. First step, start with the end in mind. This is a really fun exercise to step back at your marketing leadership team, to step back and say, what does good marketing look like for our organization? What skills do we need? If we could start today, what would the dream team look like? What kinds of skills would we have? And how would we measure success for our marketers? That's one of the most fun things, is to just step back for a minute and really look at your end state and think about what you'd like it to be. But the key is to just get started. And honestly, although in my view, marketing excellence represents all four of these functions, all four of these facets, you really can start anywhere, and the key is honestly just to start somewhere. So I'm going to try to give you a little overview of each of these four aspects of a journey towards marketing excellence, and then give you some tips about how to just start with, no matter how many resources you have or how much initiative you have within your organization, just start. So for talent, obviously our goal here is to attract, develop, and retain the best talent for our marketing needs. And it starts with answering the question of what kind of skills and talents do you need? And that's two facets of that. With your current talent, do you have what you need? And then how do you make your current talent better? And how do you get the right new talent that you need? So part of that is really going back to that end state one more time, making sure that you understand where you're trying to get, and then you can start to develop a roadmap looking at who you have today and what skills you might need in the future. As far as assessing capability building, this is one of the most interesting and varied ways you can approach it. You can assess your whole team, you can assess individuals, but you have to, in the end, set priorities, because you can't build every capability for every person and every team and everything at once. You can pick some places to start. You can pick on, for example, are you going to start with your new employees and just focus on onboarding and making sure every new person who starts gets the right skills that you want? Are you going to focus on ongoing? Are you going to do something on a quarterly basis, a monthly basis? Are you going to start a new initiative to build the organization's capability across the entire marketing function? And then another thing to consider here is looking at choices of partners. There's plenty of partners here so that you're not just one or two people in a room trying to figure out how are we going to do this ourselves. You can look both internally and externally in the organization for ways that you can get help building your marketing capability. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples here of folks that I've partnered with in my current role, previous roles, or other companies I've worked with have used some of these options. This is an example from the Corporate Executive Board, and they use a skill measurement tool called the Marketing Excellence Survey. What's cool about this is you have a chance, they have a benchmark so that you have a chance to measure yourself or your team against a Marketing Excellence Survey average in all kinds of different aspects of marketing. And then you can pick the ones that are where there's the greatest disparity between where you are and where you'd like to be or where the benchmark is. That's one way of picking your priority to start. This is another interesting example from ISBM, the Institute for the Study of Business Markets. They partner with lots of capability building teams, and this is one that they've shared from some of their other vendors and their member companies have used. What's cool about this is you can establish the competencies yourself down the left-hand column, and then you can choose how to watch somebody either as an individual or as an organization go from a contributor to a manager to a leader in each of those competencies. And this is another really great tool for talking with your employees themselves so they can track themselves moving across in each of the competencies from left to right. Here's an example from the American Association of National Advertisers. They use, if you're a member of ANA, there's a lot of tools that you can use, and there are plenty of very sophisticated tools here, and I think this is a very cool way of looking here from a world-class marketing department assessment and looking across multiple criteria, how you scored, and then again, another chance to look at where your gaps might be and how you take that as an opportunity to progress your team. So there are lots of other partners, by the way. I just picked a few that I thought were interesting and different. There are plenty of other partners out there, but I just picked 3 to just show you as examples that are easily accessible and great to work with. For career development, for this facet of building towards marketing excellence, in my experience, you really must involve HR for your best results, because the first thing you really need to do is start looking at what does each role contribute to the marketing function. You develop a role definition for each type of function within marketing, and then you start to develop a career path. And this is something that helps everybody. It helps current employees understand what they can do to get to another part of marketing. It helps new hires understand what their potential might be. And in the end, it can really be something that attracts and retains really great talent. The other thing to consider is whether this might be a great tool to help you bring in talent from other functions outside of marketing who might have an interest in being in marketing. And this will be a chance for them to look at what kind of skills do I really have to be in marketing, and how do I build those so that I can contribute in the marketing organization. And then finally, the one everybody loves, reward and recognition. This is the kind of thing where you can reward good skills and processes, and you try to really reward good behavior, especially when you're in the middle of a transition of any kind. This is a chance to create heroes from some of your marketing team, to celebrate them and to make them examples of great, examples of good process following, whether they have demonstrated great attitude of the culture you're trying to demonstrate and the values. My suggestion here is to involve the marketing team in the development of this. You may be surprised. For example, you may be surprised of what your marketing team really views as a reward. In some cases, it may be as a very simple, small cost thing. I know one time I worked with a marketing team where they chose that their reward, the biggest reward they could possibly imagine, was to be allowed to attend a marketing conference. So this was such a wonderful answer, because in the end, it was building the capability of the team even more. So sometimes it's not the things you think. Sometimes your marketing team loves to be viewed as rock stars and get up on stage. In other cases, they'd like something quieter, and you may be surprised at how low cost or how different it is than what you might expect. If your company is thinking at all about gamification, or your marketing team is thinking about it, this is also a great way to experiment with it. And by the way, teach all of the marketers about the principles of gamification. It can be a competitive situation of gamification where you have like a leaderboard and you track progress from various folks within your marketing team, or it can be a more individual contributor like a badge program or those kinds of things. Either way, they will start to see the benefits of the gamification. It will increase engagement in the overall marketing capability program, and it'll get folks really excited and have a common language to talk about. Again, metrics are key for reward and recognition. You want to recognize not just the most popular marketer, but the marketer who's really demonstrating results. So this is the kind of thing that you can really build within your organization and have a lot of fun with it. The overall benefits of building towards marketing excellence are, again, just to tie, making sure that the marketing strategy is tied to the corporate strategy. It helps people see across the organization the importance of marketing, and it allows you to say to the marketing team, we are investing in you. And this is a wonderful opportunity because sometimes marketing feels like we do all the work and we don't get the investment. This is a chance to really change that perception. It also builds on your ability to attract and retain the right talent. If people feel like you're investing in them, they see a future for them, they're being rewarded for good behavior. These are all things that shape the attitude about people being a part of your marketing. It changes the culture of your organization in terms of the marketing function overall. It also helps develop a common language and approach. If you're introducing some new process that you want all of the marketing team to develop, whether it's account-based marketing or even a sprint approach or agile approach to marketing, then this is a wonderful way to introduce it and build it across your entire marketing organization. And once again, building on metrics helps your whole marketing team become more data-driven and become used to measuring themselves and looking for success across agreed upon metrics for the organization. So again, marketing excellence requires effort in all 4 of these facets, but you can really start at any one of them. And you can do almost anything to get started. And for that, I'm going to leave you with this build your own plan model. So I've given you here, you can use it across all 4 of these across the top. I have each of the facets: talent, capability building, career development, reward, and recognition. And then down the left-hand column, I've listed your level of resources because, you know, there's GE marketing that sends hundreds of people to GE Marketing University, but not all of us start out that way. Sometimes you just have a couple of people in a room saying this would be a great thing for us to do as a marketing org. So I came up with just a few things to suggest, even if you have very few resources to get started. In talent, I would say just focus on your new talent or focus on your top talent and say, we want to build a plan for them. And you won't be surprised that one of your top talent person wants to move from product marketing into demand gen, and you build a path for that person to do that. And they're not going to be the last person who wants to make that path. So you start to build your path a little at a time and reward them and help them learn that. If you want to focus on capability building and you don't have a lot of resources, look for your partners, internally or externally. Sometimes you can look at your internal partners. Who knows a lot? Who's the team that's leading demand gen? Could I have them do a presentation that helps the whole organization learn about that? Who's the team leading account-based marketing? Could they present to the whole team? And you can even just build on the expertise within your teams. And this is something that will really help your organization also feel like we're doing a lot of great things. This is fun for us to learn about. Career development, again, I focus here on top talent. You start to build a career path for them and it will translate across the organization. And finally, reward and recognition. Even if you just survey the team, a few people, create a beta team, ask a couple people what they'd like to see. Start small and you'll be surprised at what kind of results you get and what kind of momentum. So again, I'm trying to give you a couple of ideas where you can just start some momentum, get some quick wins, some momentum behind you, and you'll soon be on your way to marketing excellence yourself. As you can tell, this is something I have a lot of interest and passion around. And so if there's something you'd like to talk about it further, I'm happy to talk at either one of these email addresses. And thank you so much, Chanel, for this opportunity to talk to your broader marketing mob.
Thanks, Amy, for such a great presentation. Our presentations often come from agency professionals, so it was so great to have an internal perspective instead. So again, if you have any questions for Amy, you can reach out to her via the contact information on the screen, or you can email me at abarnett@marketingmob.com. So our next speaker is Brad Stevens. He's the founder and CEO of Entreholic. Brad created Entreholic with the mission to simplify and demystify marketing, making it easier and more accessible to businesses of all shapes and sizes. Brad's talk today is on taking your company into the next decade by embracing the rapidly growing virtual on-demand workforce. And now I will turn it over to Brad.
Well, hey, Nell, thanks so much for the opportunity. I'll get started here. Just want to make sure the audio is working. It's coming through clear.
You're good.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I will hopefully keep this impactful and short and high energy and some great takeaways for you. So thanks again for the introduction. Brad Stevens, CEO of Entreholic. And short story, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I had a toy rental business in 3rd grade and a tutoring company in high school. I kind of grew up around entrepreneurship, and I knew that would sort of be my path long term after graduating from college. So that's what I've done the last 20 years. I have businesses in distribution and manufacturing partners, e-commerce and professional services. And when we exited our last business, I launched Entreholic, and as the name implies, it's this whole addiction to entrepreneurial type thinking. And no matter if you're a startup or a $200 million company, which we've worked with, everybody needs to maintain kind of the entrepreneurial spirit in how they build and grow their businesses. And so that's what we do at Entreholic, and we provide kind of innovative growth strategies for companies. And as she mentioned, we're going to talk about one of those topics today, particularly on the growing virtual on-demand workforce. So make sure everything advancing properly here. All right, so first of all, let's just talk about the changing landscape that we're all dealing with as business owners, as entrepreneurs, small, medium, and large. Is for one thing, particularly when it comes to marketing, things are just more complicated than they used to be, right? This used to be what marketing was. There was 2 or 3 main channels. There's direct TV, radio, and the customer was at the end of the message, as this one graphic shows here. Fast forward, this is what it looks like now, right? You have to fight for mind share more than ever where the customer is concerned. And it's not as straightforward. The pros and the cons that we have all these new digital marketing tools to work with, but the con is we have all these digital marketing tools to work with. So there's a lot of options. The other thing is that just things are moving faster than ever, right? The old example is, Uber in the taxi market. Virtually overnight, a company was able to unseat an industry that's been around for decades by using technology and just really changing the whole user experience, which is really kind of what made that happen. And the problem is for business owners, and again, I see this from startups to, hundreds of millions of dollars type companies, is, they wake up every day and they're chopping down trees versus sharpening the axe. I think it was actually Abraham Lincoln had the old quote, if I had 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 of it sharpening the axe. And a lot of times as business owners, and I know myself, I wake up every day with a dull axe sometimes, and you wake up and we're just trying to chop down and keep our head above water and don't take time to really sharpen the axe and to do things smarter versus harder. And so I'm hoping to share some axe sharpening techniques here with you. So how do you overcome these challenges, right? The complexity of things are moving faster. What do you do to sharpen the axe? And the message that I like to share is leading with leverage, right? How to lead your organization, your business, right, with the concept of leverage. Because things aren't going to slow down. They're only going to get faster. And the only way you're going to progress and be successful, both from business and a personal standpoint, is knowing how to leverage time, money, and resources most effectively. How do you get the most from each of these, right? And also part of this is automating and delegating. How do you leverage some of the tools that are out there to automate and delegate and get things done faster, quicker, and smarter? So, one of the main vehicles I'm going to talk about here is how do you use a global team of on-demand talented freelancers. So I want to take any of you right now, if you have a mindset of when you hear the word freelancer or outsourcing, just pause whatever your kind of thoughts are on it. Everyone I find when I speak on this has different perspectives on it. Let me have an opportunity to kind of repaint that picture for you a little bit. The concept here is about how can you use this new global platform to get things done faster, cheaper, and smarter, okay? Literally, how do you get tens of thousands of dollars of work done? Sales, marketing, operations, HR, multiple constraint points that may be in your business. Literally, how do you get tens of thousands of dollars of work done for $500, in 2 weeks? And we're going to show some different examples of that. So, part of the way I learned about this was in growing my last company before I launched Entreholic, because I stumbled across this whole world of on-demand global freelancers. And literally, this is the kind of things I was able to get done. Tens of thousands of dollars of work, very fast, very low cost. Now, there's a process to finding the high-quality folks that can do the good work. But once you do, it's unbelievable how impactful it is. And now we have a team of about 50 people globally that we use. So the deal is, this isn't a short-term trend that I'm talking about here. This isn't a quick tip or trick. This is a seismic shift in the workforce of how things are going to get done. So you see 10 million up there. 10 million people. That's how many people there are on just one of these platforms, okay? And Upwork is one of those platforms. Fiverr is one of those platforms. 123 Employee is one of those platforms. This is a number of people globally, highly talented individuals, right? And a lot of people, when they think about freelancers, they think of like, a 12-year-old in a hoodie in a garage somewhere in another country that's making websites. Well, that has changed dramatically. These are highly talented, competent individuals, much like ones that are on this webinar right now, that have a tremendous skill set, and these platforms allow them to do work for people all over the world very efficiently. Forbes came out with an article, it was last year, that really kind of captures why this isn't a short-term trend. In the US alone by 2020, not to mention the rest of the world, right? But by 2020, that's just 3 years from now, 50%, okay, of the US workforce will be freelancers in some capacity. This on-demand work, instant gig economy is moving more and more into independent professionals that are using mobile and technology to create ecosystems of work they enjoy. And that's what's happening. Right? And that's why you can tap people all over the world that can do financial modeling for you for $250 in a couple of days versus $3,000 or $4,000 in a month. And why is it? Why can they do this type of work so low cost? Right? First of all, they have no overhead. Most of them are all working virtually. They're working out of their basement, or they're working at a co-working location, so they don't have a fixed expense overhead. Secondly, they don't have marketing costs. Right? They go set up a profile, they do good quality work, and they end up getting opportunities sent to them all over the world, 24/7, from all over the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they don't have to market themselves. They just get on-demand impact of work, and the platforms like Upwork and so forth do all of the marketing. And thirdly, it's just efficient. Right? I'll show you some examples here. There's a guy that used to work for a TV station and did video, and he learned how to do it. And now he has a platform on Fiverr, and he has 2 or 3 people in his basement, and he does it around the clock, and they become very, very efficient at what they do. So they can do it over and over and over again and produce a lot more output with less inputs. So what are the benefits of embracing, kind of understanding this whole freelancer economy and learning how to leverage your time, money, and resources more effectively? Well, first of all, right, it helps us deal with what a lot of us are challenged, which is overcome the growth ceiling, right? And when you're starting a business, or even if you're a larger business at some point, right, we all kind of had this upward trajectory, and then you hammer this growth ceiling, right? You have a restraint on cash or people or systems and resources, and you just deflect, and you never get to the other side. When you learn how to embrace these techniques, this teaches you how to stretch your dollars and your time much further, and you can actually get to the other side of that growth constraint. Secondly, the benefit is this lets you outsmart the competition with an unfair advantage. I speak on this stuff all the time, to startups, to large organizations. And when I ask anybody in the audience, how many of you have heard of any of these techniques? Less than 10% raise their hand. So those of you who embrace and learn how to use these techniques properly, you can really outsmart your competition and gain an unfair advantage out of the gates, right? The other thing is you can finally harness the digital marketing ecosystem, right? That first example I showed up on the first slide of how it looks now, and there's a zillion things floating around, right? There's social media and email marketing and blog writing and so forth. How do you possibly keep up with all of that? Well, by using these techniques, it allows you to build a team that can execute for you, that can make all of those things happen very, very cost effectively. As I said, I got 50 people all over the world. I got content writers, I got graphic designers, I got web developers. Some of them are individuals, and some of them are firms and agencies that we work with. But the thing is, they do things cost effective and fast. Like my social media firm is right here in Atlanta, Georgia. But I found them on one of these platforms, and they do it very cost effectively and do great work. And it helps you stop losing money in the warm leads. A lot of times we don't take advantage of the digital marketing solutions and a lot of the opportunities that we have of people that we meet at a networking event or people that visit our website and then don't, bounce off because we don't have a way to capture their information, right? It's kind of the way I showed is in this graphic here, which is the nurture wheel is the left side, which are all those things that you need to be doing to stay on a person's radar. They need to be receiving emails. They need to be seeing you in their digital channels, Twitter, social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn. The other thing is making sure that they're seeing you from a search standpoint. You have webinars, thought leadership pieces. The only way that you can stay and keep all that content being produced, right, is leveraging these types of resources, depending on what your budget is, because the other wheel is life and business events. And if you earn the right to stay on someone's radar long enough, there will be a life and business event where there's an opportunity for a transaction. If you aren't in front of them and aren't staying top of mind, you won't have that opportunity. And the last thing is just helps you overcome staff fluctuations and turnover cost. So by leveraging some freelancer outsourcing resources to get things done, right, you don't go through a lot of the hiring and loss and retraining of staff in certain types of roles, right? You can leverage resources and turn it on and turn it off as needed. All right, so what to outsource? So I'd like to kind of share this through kind of a case study example. So we talked about some of the things that you can outsource with freelancers, but this is an example that kind of captures all of it in one little case study. So I have a relationship of mine. He's in commercial real estate, right? He's here in Atlanta and he does commercial real estate, which means that he wants to connect with people that are looking to either change office space, find new office space, and he knows how to do all these techniques that I'm talking about. And so he created a website called AtlantaOfficeSearch.com, meant to be purely an education website that's about content that drives traffic and generates leads from him on the web of people that are searching, that are trying to change office space. So he got this logo done, right? Using these platforms. He got Atlanta Office Search, pretty good looking logo. He got a full website done. I think it's 15, 20 pages. Well done website, well designed. He got animated video done on the website that explains it it's called a quick draw video that kind of explains the value proposition of what they do and why it's beneficial. He got infographics created. He got blogs written. He got a space calculator done by a freelancer that actually allowed them to go put a calculator on the website that they could estimate the amount of space that they need. And he got an ebook written to renew or to relocate. Got the whole thing written, all the graphic design done, and even a 3D rendering of it sitting on the page to capture names and email addresses, right? So you ask, what did all of this cost for him to get done, to get this whole lead generation incredible platform put together? Most people, is it, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000? None of those. He got all this stuff done for $840. The logo for $25, the website for $300, the videos for $100, the blogs for $90, infographic for $75, ebook, written graphic design and out the door for $125. And it was done in 2 weeks. That's the other part of the benefit with using these resources is speed of execution. It's not only about getting things done fast and low cost with good, competent resources, but it's about speed, because the faster you're to market, the faster you can generate revenue and generate cash in the door. So this is just a snapshot of examples of things that can be done. I'll share one other quick one. For example, I do a lot of speaking. And so I had someone capture all of this raw video footage of me speaking. And so I had all this footage. You can see here on the left, these are kind of snapshots of different things that I had. I had graphic images. I had testimonials from individuals that I captured after my speaking events that were done. And I had full music overlay. So I went on to Fiverr and looked for someone that just specialized in doing speaker videos. And I thought I was going to pay thousands of dollars to get this thing done. Found this guy. He's in Belgium. I sent him 2 hours of raw footage, all of the footage that he needed, all the graphic design, just sent him all that information. And he created an amazing 4-minute speaker video for me for $126 in 5 days. And that included all the music integration, all the graphics, all the interchange, and we only had 2 rounds of edits. So if you actually want to see the video, you can go to entreholic.com/speaking. But this is another example of speed and execution. And the amount of speaking I've done has generated a ton of revenue for me and being able to get this done that would have never gotten done otherwise from a cost and time standpoint. Another example, got an animated video done in 5 days for $86. Got a 10-page ebook written on how to market and grow your dog walking business. Long story, but we had someone in that segment that wanted an ebook written. Got the whole thing done in 2 days for $86. Social media management for $150 a month. Business plans. You can literally get full written, and I've had several of these done and seen the quality of them, full business plans if you're looking to launch into a new market for $75 to $175. And we're talking about full SWOT analysis, financial modeling, and research in the industry. Again, people specialize in this stuff, and so they do it and repeat and are able to leverage their content. And a virtual assistant. This is a whole nother subcategory as far as freelancers, but I've got a woman that I work with. She's actually in the Philippines, and she's $7 an hour, university graduate, 24 years old, and I mean gets an unbelievable amount of tasks executed. And we have a great relationship, and I think we'll be working together very, very long term. And she helps to kind of manage our whole team of freelancers. So for about $1,100 a month, I get a full-time employee working 40 to 50 hours a week. She manages my email, manages my calendar, and manages all of our freelancer resources. So this just gives you a quick snapshot and kind of the limited time that we have here of sort of what's possible of leveraging a global on-demand economy of resources that you can get things done faster, quicker, smarter. So if anybody's interested, I've got a free quick start guide on how to kind of start using freelancers and outsourcing, and this guide that we published called the Top 200 Tools to Fuel Your Business Growth. And you can get that at entreholic.com/outsource. Go to that page and you just put your name and email and request those guides. Or you can just send an email to tools@entreholic.com and just put your first name in the subject line. So hopefully that was helpful. People have some takeaways, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Brad. As you just heard, and some of you may already know, the world is definitely moving towards a gig economy workforce. So using these resources can give you a great competitive advantage. I would like at this time to thank all three of our presenters for presenting such great and valuable content today. I hope the talks were informative to you and that you have some great takeaways to implement immediately. We've already scheduled our next group of marketing thought leaders who will be bringing you great content on Tuesday, December 12th at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. The three presenters are Ivy Garcia. She's the co-founder of Brandfoot Consulting, and she will be discussing customer journey mapping. Jim Kaufman is the CEO and founder of Agency Sparks, and he'll be presenting on how to select a marketing agency. And Chantel Cleef is the co-founder and CEO of Imagine Media Consulting, and she'll be presenting on social media. We'll be sending out the registration link soon. That will come out with the email that includes the recordings of today's sessions. We really appreciate your time and attention and look forward to hosting you in the future. This concludes today's session of Marketing Mob Talks. Thanks so much.